დიდი მადლობა, ქალბატონო სალომე. ეხლა მინდა ვთხოვო ევროკავშირის ელჩს საქართველოში ბატონ კარლ ჰარცელს, რომ მოგმართოს გავხსნები სიტყვით.
Madam President, members of Parliament, ambassadors, distinguished guests. First of all, let me express my appreciation to the organizers of today's conference. You could not have chosen a more relevant topic for discussion in a situation when the wider European continent is going through a period of rapid and tectonic change. Russia's unprovoked and unjustified war in Ukraine is breaking every rules-based security order that has been defining our continent for decades. The war has forced Europe to rethink the concepts and means of security and defense, its energy security and global trade routes. It has brought Europe to a new level of determination to stand together with Ukraine, a support that in financial terms already can be measured in billions of euros, and to wage a political and economic toll on Russia through so far 5 packages of sanctions and an active policy of isolating Russia on the world stage. However long the war in Ukraine goes on, and whatever its consequences, it's already clear that Europe will never be the same again. But let me leave the wider implications of this war for others to elaborate on further, and let me instead use my time here at the podium to reflect on a very specific aspect and consequence of the events that have taken place since 24 February, and that is Georgia's EU application, following in the footsteps of Ukraine and in tandem with Moldova. Possibly already next week will the opinions of the European Commission be published, following which EU member states will be discussing them in the Council for a decision, possibly to be taken less than a month from now. I will avoid speculating what the Commission's final assessment will look like, or what the decision of the member states will be with regard to Georgia. What I would say, however, is that no matter what the outcome will be, less than hoped for, more than expected, with or without specific conditions, the conclusion to be drawn in all cases must be that now is the time for Georgia to get to work. Whether that work will be to catch up with a train that has started to leave the station, or to make sure that the train ticket obtained will take you to the next station, Georgia needs to step up actions to deliver seriously and sustainably on what is needed to make a credible bid for future EU membership. As the President of Georgia has stressed on many occasions, including earlier this morning, unity is needed for success. On substance, this is less of a problem. Among the main political parties across the spectrum, I see united calls for Georgia's EU membership perspective. The real problem is to get everyone into the same room when making these calls and formulating together the agenda ahead, with everyone willing to shoulder his or her respective responsibility for this process. I'm not naive about the challenge to build a political culture of listening to each other rather than branding each other as slaves, warmongers, Putinists, traitors, or simply, quote unquote, not interesting. But this challenge must somehow be overcome. Now is not the moment to prepare for a possible blame game. Now it's time to prepare for the long game. Let us also be clear on one thing. EU enlargement, while currently moving at an unprecedented speed, will in the end never be about quick fixes and cutting corners, nor a mere reflection of geopolitical priorities, because the EU project as such is far too important to allow it. By pooling their resources and sovereignty, member states have invested heavily into the European Union to create the world's biggest internal market, becoming the world's biggest trade actor and the biggest global development assistance donor. And over the past 25 years or so, member states have increasingly been pooling their foreign and security instruments, the very same instruments we currently employ in response to Russia's war in Ukraine. On the sober understanding that it is only by standing together that Europe will be able to have a real voice and ability to shape the 21st century, standing on the foundation of the values that unite us, the respect for human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law, and human rights. That investment is what is at stake here. And this is why any new member is not only expected to adhere fully to our values and standards, but in the end also to contribute to making the European Union even stronger. Progress on EU enlargement, in other words, is not a measurement of the degree of affection that the EU feels towards a candidate country. It is a measurement of the determination and ability of that candidate country to make the decisions and make the reforms necessary to advance credibly and irreversibly on its European path. I have called these past weeks a sit-up moment for Georgia because there is no business as usual anymore. By applying for EU membership, you have, on the one hand, seized a unique opportunity and moment to make serious headway on a strategic objective that is firmly supported by over 80% of your population. But on the other hand, you have also raised the stakes. Georgia has clearly made good progress on reforms over many years. Georgia's leaders have every reason to take pride in the achievements that brought your country to the informal honorary title of Eastern Partnership frontrunner a few years ago. Policies that rendered the successful completion of the association agreement and the landmark EU-Georgia visa-free regime possible. Achievements that will serve you well also when looking ahead. At the same time, Georgia could have been better prepared for this historic moment, as it comes at a time when the EU is increasingly concerned about the country's current trajectory. Following an effective slowdown of the reform pace over recent years, partly due to consecutive political crises for which all sides bear their part of responsibility, and the COVID pandemic, over these past months, questions have also been raised about where Georgia is heading. I'm not revealing any secrets here, since you have all seen and heard the EU's public reactions to a number of developments that have taken place over the past year, with question over the trend when it comes to democratic elections, the 5 July violence and its follow-up with implications for the right of minorities and protection of journalists, several actions taken that seem to run counter to building trust in the judiciary and the rule of law, wiretapping practices versus human rights and the right of privacy, and the dismantlement of the State Inspector Service, putting into question the respect for democratic institutions and proper democratic oversight mechanisms. And these are not, let's face it, developments of marginal importance. They all relate directly to the key values of the European Union as formulated in Article 2 of the Treaty on European Union. However, you may wish to explain away some of these developments, as some do, there is no going around the fact that a change is needed. Perceptions matter, trends matter, and Georgia must aim to bring itself back to the position of the region's best performer and best reformer, for which it has every opportunity and even a track record to prove it. The bad news is that you cannot count on anyone else to do this work for you. The good news is that you don't have to, as these decisions are principally in your own hands. As the members of the enlargement class of 2004 and later can testify, the way to the European Union was not a straight road. At some points, some were lagging behind, some were even suggested to follow a different route than full membership. However, by playing by the rules, by following the agenda as laid down in the so-called EU Copenhagen criteria, by making the reforms irreversible and themselves irresistible on the grounds of their own merits, they succeeded. Of course, it's not all that simple. Decisions taken by EU member states, consequences for the region from the war in Ukraine, and other future developments in Europe and the world will have an impact as well. But as history has shown, this process begins and ends with your determination and your actions. And you have several resources to draw on. Apart from the help that may be provided by the European Union or our member states, you can use the expertise of institutions such as the Venice Commission, OSCE, ODIHR, as well as the many resourceful civil society organizations and members of academia you have here in Georgia. The European Union is a close friend and partner of Georgia. Georgia is among those who have received the highest assistance per capita anywhere in the world. We are supporting you to modernize your economy, bring new jobs, boost trade and connectivity, raise your educational standards, increase energy efficiency, tackle your environmental and health challenges, and bring your legislation in line with ours. During COVID, the EU, together with its member states, took immediate action to provide direct financial support to your state budget, help small and medium-sized enterprises survive, help vulnerable groups of society, and assist in addressing the pandemic itself. And through our actions in international fora, the EU monitoring mission and the EU special representative, alongside our support to Georgia's border and coastal guards and growing support to your armed forces, we're also making direct contributions to your country's resilience and security. These actions are all a measurement of our love and respect, if you will. And we remain ready to play that role. And we remain ready to assist you in advancing your European agenda, no matter what decisions will be taken in the coming weeks. Because we believe in our friendship and partnership, and we are ready to continue investing in it. And we want Georgia to find its rightful place in Europe and the world. So just help us to help you. Didi Madhova.